if we're eating a healthy diet, whole, organic, natural, seasonal, perhaps, why do we need supplements?
It's a good question, Lloyd. So the truth of the matter is twofold. One, most people don't adhere to that full organic diet. They don't balance their diet to take care of every one of their um, therapeutic needs. They may have deficiencies which can't be overcome purely by eating a good diet. For instance, if you look at the gut microbiome, you can get a healthy, balanced gut microbiome through diet for the most part. But if you look at the bacteria in the gut, the thousands of bacteria, and the need to balance that and to keep the good bacteria effective and the bad bacteria out, you could eat a lot of fermented foods, right? And which contain, for instance, a lot of the bifidobacterium or the lactobacilli that are the good bacteria for your gut. But you have to eat a heck of a lot of that stuff to get the right amounts. So you could layer your pizza with kimchi if you want, and make sure that every part of your diet every day has what you need. Or you could say, look, I want to eat healthily, but I think supplementation has a role in that. You can more easily balance the shortages, overcome the shortages through
Mm.
supplementation.
Yeah, because it seems as though pretty much anywhere, because I live in France, as we were just exchanging before we came on, weren't we? And even in France, which is the French are really attached to the land, and there's this thing we call them paysans in French, and it's like
Right.
smallholders, if you want. And there's still so we do have some industrial farms, some big farms, but there's a lot of small holdings, and so there's a big, strong connection between the land, what's grown on the land, and what goes on your plate. And we have this culture of going to the market to get the best food, which is kind of the opposite to my culture, British culture, where if you want the best food, you go to the supermarket.
Right.
Um, and even in France, it seems that now we're at a state where it's, as you're suggesting here, it's virtually impossible, even when you're eating organic and local and seasonal and everything, it's virtually impossible to get everything you need nutritionally. And that does seem to be the case, doesn't it? Pretty much around the world, certainly in America. I think it's
Right.
been an even bigger problem because of all the um, decisions that have been made since post-war, basically, to okay, we've got to nourish the population, so we need this special this amazing wheat and so on crops, and then oh look what happened, we've got gluten in there. Oh, we didn't count on that, and all these decisions which we made, like when glyphosate came out, and wasn't that amazing? And I was speaking to my father about it the other day. He says, I remember when it came out in the 50s. I mean, there was weeds everywhere, and then in like no time, there was no weeds anymore, and everybody thought it was marvelous. But little did they know. And so we're now in this era post all of that, in hindsight, and we're kind of paying the price. And it seems
Right.
as though the price is that you need to get some decent supplements because it's just not there in the food supply. Is that fair to say?
That's absolutely fair to say. And if you layer on that, Lloyd, I mean, that's a great synopsis. And if you layer on top of that, demographically and geographically where people live, and their earnings and income levels and access to the kinds of foods that they need, it varies a lot. And there are a lot of populations that just don't have access, just by nature of the fact of who they are, where they live, what they earn, and what their environment is like.
Mm,
So, you know, there definitely is this need to provide affordable, well-researched supplements that people can layer on top of their existing diet.
right.
It shouldn't be a replacement. I mean, lifestyle and your lifestyle choices are really important in how you deal with your attempt to build complete wellness or to deal with the challenges with issues that are either created by the environment or created because of who you are and your own personal health challenges.
Mm.
So lifestyle is important. And that's an area that we can talk about that more later, but a lot of people don't make that same commitment. There's this need for the short-term fix.
Yeah. So, like, if you could put a figure on it, if there is a typical one that you could cite.
Uh, it comes down to individual needs, so that's hard to say. I mean, if somebody said to me, George, for your sorts of products, if you've got something that's going to help balance my gut microbiome and is going to help me deal with my cognitive um, issues or maintain strong cognitive function, especially since I know I've got all these challenges in my environment. I may suffer from certain things like EHS. What do you recommend? The way we bundle our products and price them, somebody could get the full gamut of products for daily use at less than $75 a month.
$75 a month. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay.
$2.50 a day, and you could be using our products on an ongoing basis to cover most aspects of your supplementation needs for gut
Yeah.
health,
Yeah.
cognitive health, fighting inflammation and stress in your body.
So you're not trained in the field, as you shared.
Right.
So what can you tell us? Because it is really, you need to know what you're doing here, don't you?
I was fortunate enough to be introduced to a lady in South Africa who is an absolute master in her knowledge of natural medicines. She could probably recite the Materia Medica to you from page 1 to page 1,000. There's not a question you can ask her that she doesn't off the top of her head have an answer to in terms of the Materia Medica and homeopathic treatments. Her name is Michelle Carlse.
Okay.
Carelse. And she runs a company in South Africa called Feel Good Health. But coincidentally, in 2022, she was named one of the top 50 most influential women businessmen in South Africa by Ernst & Young. So she's been recognized. She's really smart. And I was fortunate that we tied up with her because she built for us products that really, truly work. They're well researched. Every product has published research, whether it's in the Materia Medica, the homeopathic documents. You can go to the NIH, you can go to PubMed, you can look at journals of medicine. Everything is researched. And she was a strong believer in bringing products together that were produced in a way that provided whole herb, full spectrum extraction. I always use the analogy. When an animal in the wild feels ill and instinctively runs around looking for a plant to chow down on, right, that's going to help it, they don't have the luxury of taking the plant and putting it through some oxidative process and to extract the single ingredient that is supposed to have the impact for you. They chow down on the whole thing, active ingredient and supporting metabolites all in one. And that introduces a whole better level of efficacy and safety.
With regards to electromagnetic fields, and obviously that's it's an important topic, a topic of growing importance because these EMFs, cell phones and Wi-Fi, it's growing, and 5G and so on. It's like, and all these devices that people are bringing into their homes, and that they're unaware that these are radiation emitting devices.
Right.
And so, because what we know, obviously why this is relevant is we know, so just harping back to something you mentioned earlier about the microbiome, we know some of the ways it impacts the microbiome.
There is a lot of research that shows that EMFs hurt the good bacteria and actually give the bad bacteria a better environment in which to thrive. That's been proven multiple times. And you'll find that research in numerous places, including on the NIH and PubMed and very respectable sources. So it's a known fact. So the microbiome is one of the core areas. We know the microbiome is one of the core areas for our health. We know there's this very strong connection between the microbiome and the brain. People may or may not know, but more and more today, they talk about the gut-brain axis, right? There is a connection between what happens in your gut and what happens in your brain and the messaging that goes between them. That gut-brain axis is very real. So if your gut microbiome is out of balance, it has a lot of impacts on your well-being. It's well known that an out-of-balance microbiome will increase your exposure to stress and inflammation, to disease. It will impact your cognitive function, your memory. It just has this massive impact on your life. So, the fact that we know that EMFs impact your gut, and your gut impacts so many areas of your health, tells you that one of the things you should be taking care of is your gut.
Let's just be clear. It's not just about the gut. When we say microbiome, the microbiome is all over our body, but it just so happens that the gut's really important. One of the reasons it's important, well, there's lots, but it's like we now know we've got this brain in our gut, literally.
That's 100% true. If you look at our product, our brain product, Clear Brain and Moon, it has in it probiotic strains that have been particularly well researched to help with microbiome balance as it impacts inflammation, cognitive function, mental health.
George, thanks for sharing, and thanks for the great work you're doing.
Great. Thanks, Lloyd. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. And thank you, listener, viewer, for attending. If you're looking for solutions to deal with EMFs and your health, then this interview and all my other interviews are available in the EMF Experts Club with full transcripts. Until next time, my name is Lloyd Burrell from electricsense.com. Thanks so much. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.